The best for last, folks, and it's going to be an exciting one up from here. Played 11 seasons in the NFL and now newly recognized into the Ring of Honor for the Miami Hurricanes, played with the Vikings, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Miami Dolphins as well. And to talking more about the Vikings situation, this is going to be interesting, but former offensive tackle Bryant McKinnie joins us here on the show. First of all, Brian, congratulations on your recognition being in the Ring of Honor for the Miami Hurricanes. Are there some memorable moments you think about as now you're going into the Ring of Honor you like to kind of share with our audiences here to kind of reminisce on some of the years spending with Miami?
Just probably my journey just there, especially my junior year. Um, being part of the team, we lost the second game of the season, but went on and won the rest of my time there all the way through my senior year and went to a national championship. So definitely being able to win the national championship after having the opportunity to split it with our rivals, Florida State, the year before, and then just taking destiny in our own hand and going out and actually winning the following year was a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I to me, I've always loved watching, Miami football, even from the U in the 2000s, and then them producing so many great talents like yourself as well.
Mhm.
It's always really impressed me, and that's why I'm excited for what Cam Ward is also going to do here in the NFL as the number one overall pick. So we're getting into the hefty things from here. You've played along with the Minnesota Vikings for the heftiness of your career. When
Mhm.
I look at this offensive line, Brian, and they addressed a lot. They get Ryan Kelly, they get Will Fries, and we know Christian Darrisaw coming back from injury is going to play a big role. But the huge question of it is this enough to help to solidify with the return of JJ McCarthy? How have you really outlooked this as playing the position yourself and being a part of the offensive line? How important that's going to be for the Vikings this upcoming season?
Very important, and I feel like they're putting everything into JJ. So you want to definitely get him some good insurance, which is the offensive line. I always look at the offensive line as like the engine in the car, and the receivers and the running backs are the wheels, and the quarterback is the driver. So to be able to have big guys up front who are pretty good, and I've seen that Darrisaw came back this week and has been practicing in minicamp, so that's good to see that he's back, so fast. Um, so have those guys and they get rhythm and getting used to playing with next to each other. I feel like it's good for JJ, and it'll make him start to feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And this is kind of the thing. And I know there's been lots of buzzes, because I think because we're kind of put in the mystery with what JJ McCarthy is going to look like. We know he got injured last year with after a really impressive preseason game and then to
Hmm.
have him sidelined. But I think of it this way. If he didn't have the opportunity to play last year in his quote unquote rookie season, this is the rookie season this year where
Hmm.
we'll get a chance to see that. Now, some talks has been since coming back from the injury, there's some adjustments that's been involved, and mostly comfortability of the lower half itself, but then also kind of building that relationship with this offense. Looking at this, I always wish the best and successes for a lot of these young players in the league.
Hmm.
JJ McCarthy's got an interesting situation because knowing the NFC North and you played in it, it's tough. They're physical, they're more in the trenches. And even when you're facing Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago twice a year,
Hmm.
this is going to be an interesting challenge for JJ McCarthy. How would you outlook this going into this season where this would technically be your rookie season? Is there some pressure involved in how he can overcome that?
But he's going to see everything for the first time live, like in regular season. So there'll be some adjustments. I just think I'm glad to see that the offensive line is in play, and everybody's there present for like the mini camps and stuff, so he can get timing and everything down. And the more time he has to practice with those guys, the running backs and receivers, the more comfortable he'll get, especially in these mini camps. And then getting into training camp is when it becomes a little more live with the full pads and everything. And he'll just have to get more and more comfortable, just reps and just get to a space where he is in his playbook too and studying film because that'll give him a little edge as well.
I think the good thing of it is because he's also paired along with a very good coach in Kevin O'Connell that just gets the best out of, these quarterbacks. We've watched him even
Mhm.
when, Kirk Cousins has been there, and even when you bring in Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins and even Sam Darnold. I mean, Darnold having a resurgent season for 1 year and then
Mhm.
doing what he did here in Minnesota, where they were a 14-win team. I
Yeah.
mean, that's got to really make you feel confident, especially with having Kevin O'Connell to really build together this offense, right?
Yeah, and I think Kevin O'Connell is very confident in his coaching style and be able to get quarterbacks, to feel comfortable and play at a high level. So I feel like he knows how to bring the talent out in that position. So I think that's why they also didn't mind putting, all the eggs in that one basket with JJ and saying, "Hey, this is our guy. We want to go with him." And now that he's recovered, so I think the fans are pretty excited to finally get to see JJ on the field, and I mean his teammates are as well.
Going into your playing time in your career, playing up and in the offensive line, and how
Mhm.
important that it is to establish that communication and relationship with your peers around you. I look at the Miami Dolphins, and here's my thing with this. Once I heard the news about Teron Armstead, this is going to be an interesting season for Miami. And to me, I feel like this is a year where guys are fighting for their job. Mike McDaniel and with Chris Greer. Once they heard the news about that, about Teron Armstead retiring, it kind of felt like now there's a hole there. And I don't know how they're going to figure that out. But going into your career and playing on the tackle side, you know, with the play style and then the importance behind that, is that kind of a challenge? Like thinking about it because you're holding yourself accountable and then you're also accounting for your quarterback. That's right there. You got to defend. This is going to be quite a challenge for Miami because if they can't get this right, it's going to scream some bad news for Miami this season, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just feel like Miami. I don't know. I don't know what to think about Miami sometimes. I feel like they have the opportunity to get some good players, and sometimes I feel like the front office just misses at times. But we'll see how they make this adjustment.
Yeah, it should be really really interesting. So you've won a Super Bowl in your career, and
Mhm.
a lot of people when I talk about the Super Bowl, and I look at the roster construction, the coaching staff, and the culture. You've had the pleasure of playing in a culture like Baltimore, which is tough. They're a very proud organization, and even in the
Mhm.
AFC North. Um, Take me back into that moment when you played up and on here, and then when you get into the big stage like the Super Bowl. You had to have been feeling everything up and in there, right? And to experience that and to win it for your team, this is kind of the ultimate goal that a lot of these players they work hard in. They fight for every single opportunity and chance. What does it really mean to you being a Super Bowl champion and what that takes to get and achieve the ultimate goal?
It's very familiar to me because in college I won a national championship, so it was a very similar vibe and a very similar like thing where the team buys in, everybody kind of agrees like this is what we're doing, this is our mission. And I know when I got to Baltimore, because all right, so I'm gonna say in college, the year before we could have split the national championship with Florida State if they'd beat Oklahoma. Um, but then the next year, our whole mentality was control your own destiny. I know when I got so we did that. We all worked together. We did extra on Saturdays, and we just took care of each other on and off the field. I'm gonna say when I got to Baltimore, and especially when we got to the playoffs, around the playoffs, Ray Lewis was. I knew me coming there was part of the reason why Ray Lewis wanted me to come there because he wanted to exit on the Super Bowl. So in my mind, that was part of my mission is to make try to make this happen for him. Um, and then two, it got to a point where we got in the playoffs because the year before we made it to the AFC Championship and we lost our kicker missed a field goal. A pass got dropped, and then we went for a field goal, and our kicker missed it. So we lost that way. But I remember Ray Lewis saying in the locker room, "Don't hold your heads low. We'll be back in the situation again next year." And at that point, I thought she was about to retire, but he'll be back. So we were back in that same exact situation the following year, back in New England, just with a different mindset going into the playoffs. He basically was saying like, no, let's not get on social media. Let's focus on each week at a time. We only got three weeks, and then you're in the Super Bowl. So 3 games. let's focus on that. And then everybody kind of bought in. And then we did things outside of the locker room. It wasn't just about being at work. It's like, okay, outside we hung out too. And that brought the team closer. And once we got there, in my mind, I'm like, it took me 11 years to get here. So me and Avery did the same year. We were the same, we came out of Miami the same year. So both of us is our first Super Bowl appearance. That both took us both 11 years. It's like, okay, we're finally here. Let's make the most of it. And we were able to, come away with it. But it felt like I was back in college. It felt like I was in a bowl game in college because you have the media day. They take you around. You do interviews. You just do a lot of stuff leading up to it. And then like the last couple of days, it kind of buckles down and you get like really geared into like the football and still knowing that you have the game. So they put me back into like college bowl game for a minute,
Wow.
especially the top of the week.
Wow, that I love that. That's actually, that's got to be the best feeling up and in the world. And at least for you, it's like you've been in that big stage, and so to kind of have that amount of confidence, and also just because for some it's like it's butterflies to them, but in the end,
Mhm.
you get the right voices, you get the right leaders that are in there that kind of keep everybody level headed and calm. That's the most important thing, because it's like, hey, think of it as this is another game to us. We know there's a goal involved, but that's where you got to play our game that we're used to playing, and that's what makes the huge transition from there, and what makes a huge difference. So I love that. Absolutely love that. My
Mhm.
co-host Chase here, he was definitely waiting for this moment and excited for this interview. He did have a couple questions here to ask you as well. Fire away,
What up,
Chase.
Chase?
What up? How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
So the question I have is that since you were a Super Bowl champion with Joe Flacco and you played with him, as a Browns fan, when you look at this whole quarterback carousel that is going on in the NFL between a lot of different teams, especially the Cleveland Browns,
Mhm.
and going from the side of an offensive lineman who has to deal with protecting the quarterbacks and learning the offensive side of the things, who do you think best fits for a team like the Cleveland Browns? Do you think Joe Flacco would be the better option, or do you think that they should go with the rookie in Shador Sanders?
If anything, I feel like they should start out with Joe Flacco just from experience and give Shador a couple games to learn, behind him to continue to learn how to be a pro. And then as they, the season progress and, Shador kind of learn some things, they can throw him in like, week 4 or something like that. But to start out, I would allow him to sit back and learn some things since you got Joe Flacco there.
So when you were in the NFL, what was the one thing that you were looking for a quarterback when they would come in to be in charge of the team? Like, I know that your job is to protect anybody that comes in, but like as an offensive lineman, you're like, okay, this guy is different. Like he's something that like somebody that can command the offense, can change the complexity of the team, the culture
Yeah,
of
so
how it's going to go.
I can give you an example. So I think a year like 8 or 9 when I was in Minnesota, Brett Favre came in and he definitely commanded. We all knew who he was first of all, but then he definitely commanded the offense. But he also made my job easier because he knew how to make dummy calls, just do a lot of things to play with the defense. So having him, and then when I got to year 12, I got to Miami, and I played with Tannehill. He might have been a rookie. And I was low key kind of sharing things with him at the night before dinner, like, hey, say this in your speech, hey, things like that. Like, and I could watch him as a player, like not like I knew that he was a receiver and played other positions, but I knew that he also was worried about what the coaches would say when you get back to film. So I could see the difference where in Miami he probably was a little more like hesitant to say things because they're older guys in there like me who had been in the league. Like this is my 12th year, this is first or second. So it's like he is a little nervous, but it's like this is your huddle, so you have to take command. Like we're listening to you. You're the leader. But then I felt like I seen that he got more comfortable when he went to Tennessee, and he was using his more of his athletic ability when he got there. And I feel like that too can come out from a coaching, and you feel comfortable with your coaches.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. Like, I think that, a lot of guys try to come in and demand, respect and demand to be in charge rather than like earn what they do and earn the respect of the veterans. But, another thing I wanted to ask was when you look at the complexity of the offensive line going against a lot of these like athletic defensive guys, the likes of like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby's, Aaron Donald's. You had a lot of guys in your time that you were playing in the NFL. What is one thing that you would give to a lot of these new NFL offensive linemen that are coming in, going up against athletic freaks that can, either overpower them on the offensive line or beat them off the edge because they're much faster?
They really shouldn't beat you off the edge if you're home. Put it that way. If you're home, because you know the snap count. And if you feel like they're getting a jump, tell your quarterback to change up the snap count. You know what I mean? So at home, you have to me, I feel like the offensive line has the advantage. I feel like a lot of guys tend to, when a guy does get a good jump on the ball, they get nervous and they tend to go out towards the person. But you got to remember his angle. So it's like set straight back because it's the angle he has to meet. But if you're going out towards him, you're creating more space between you and the guard. And then your angle's probably off too, instead of like setting back vertical and trying to cut him off at the point where he has to make contact with you. So that's where a lot of guys go wrong, is trying to jump out there fast or open up too fast. When they kick slide, they open up too fast, and it makes a shorter corner and quicker way to get to the quarterback. So those are things that they can watch on film and correct if they really know how to watch film too. And that's another thing, is that I don't know if a lot of guys watch film like they should or know exactly how to watch film.
Exactly. No, I growing up as a Browns fan, I got the benefit of watching one of the greatest left tackles play in the NFL in Joe Thomas,
Mhm.
and seeing how he, talks about the offensive line and like things that they're supposed to do and like how he helps out these young guys. And then some people just, take what he says and tries to make it. And then other people take what he says and just like, yeah, I'm going to do my own thing. I don't really care what you have to say. And like,
My thing is,
you're not listening to one of the greats. Like, what?
right. And when I played, I watched certain people, and I didn't do everything they did. Like, but I felt like Walter Jones had great hands. So there was a period of time where I was studying his hand movements, and I was take part of that from him, and then I would watch something from like Orlando Pace and add that to me. Like, I would take pieces of things because I'm still going to do what I can do. But then there's some things from them that I see that I like, that I'm like, okay, let me try this too.
Now, the last question before we leave, it's going to be a fun one. Out of all of the teams that you played with, who do you think is going to win a Super Bowl first before, the end of the season? Or like by the end of the season?
I mean, I feel like out of the teams that I played for, who would be the favorite to win is probably the Ravens. They just added DeAndre Hopkins too. They've been close a few times, just can't get over the hump. But I feel like they've been a close. The Vikings have had great records, but it's like they keep losing in the first round of the playoffs. I need them to get past the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I mean, that's all I had for a few questions, man. I just wanted to get your opinion on a few things, and also, get some of the young viewers that may be watching the show to get a little bit more information about what an NFL offensive lineman has to deal with, and the different aspects of what could make you great, not just going from the NFL. I mean, because you started off just like everybody else in playing in like Pop Warner football, going up to high school, going up to college.
I didn't play till high school.
You never played till high school. So you started off like everybody else playing in high school football, and then worked your way up to college. So like, to everybody out there who, was able to watch you play as going up to a Super Bowl champion, this was very great for them to be able to see.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Bryant, appreciate you really for taking the time to coming up on here and just giving, the best stuff, especially for a lot of these youngsters watching up and on the show that tune in all the time and learning from an absolute great and somebody too is a great mentor. Appreciate you for coming on by and sharing us with your thoughts on this. And congratulations once again on being the Ring of Honor inductee here for the University.
October 25th.
Yes, we are. I'm definitely tuning in up and on that, man. Appreciate you for coming on by. One time for the U, my friend. There it is. Appreciate you. Take care of yourself and enjoy the rest of the week, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.